Bollywood is an integral part in Pakistani society as it makes people aware of certain social issues, specifically women's rights issues. My goal is to not only discuss Bollywood film and its impacts, but to convince people to watch the movies that I'm referenced throughout the speech. Movies are an important part of my life, and I want to spread that importance to other people as well. If it wasn't for movies, I wouldn't have known about all the women's rights issues that plague my homeland. I wouldn't have known all the injustices that women in Pakistan have to face on a daily basis. I wouldn't have known what my mother had to go through. I firmly believe that movies have the power to change people's minds and to shed light on the social problems that plague either a specific group or all of us. I firmly believe that movies have the power to change the world as well. Bollywood films are not just a piece of entertainment that is only meant to be watched and then to be forgotten by time. They're art. But it wasn't like this from the very beginning. To understand what I'm going to be discussing today, context is needed first. Bollywood has existed since the early 1900s as it continues to be a dominant force in the film industry, specifically in South Asia. Bollywood is especially popular in India and neighboring countries / rival, Pakistan. Though they are enemies with one another and continue to fight over land disputes, they both have an affection for Bollywood films, but these films can also create controversy, whether it be about politics, culture, religion, or even Indo-Pakistan relations. For example, Haider was a movie released in India that was immediately banned in Pakistan due to its portrayal of the Kashmir insurgency. Kashmir is a strategic area landlocked between Pakistan, India, and China. The Kashmir area is a sensitive subject for many people and for the Indian and Pakistani government. This speech is not intended to villainize Pakistan or India, just to keep in mind. But I want to focus on the breaking of boundaries that Bollywood has achieved, specifically on feminism and women's rights issues. I'll be sharing two experiences that have changed my life, and these two films that changed my perspective and made me a feminist. In Pakistan, women are often assigned their roles from the very beginning and are expected to be housewives who do everything that their husband tells them to do. I started noticing this behavior when I was 7 years old. I saw my mom and my dad in an argument about family matters, and my dad kept on insisting that she was wrong while my mom tried to defend her argument. Eventually, my dad said that she was wrong because she was a woman and she needed to learn her place. My mom stopped immediately. My dad left the room and she started crying. I didn't know what to do. Flash forward to when I was 14 years old and I watched the film Damini, and it changed my life. I became aware as to the struggles that women had to go through just to be heard by their male contemporaries and have their voices heard. I credit this film for opening my eyes and letting me see the discrimination that they had to face. Although this film came out almost 26 years ago, its themes and messages carry on today, and it opens an opportunity for people my age to get a glimpse of the trials and tribulations that women had to face. One would think that this revelation and empowerment is a recent change in Bollywood, but in fact has been happening since the 1950s. Mother India is a film about the trials and hardships that a single mother faces, but eventually comes out on top and becomes the ideal role model of women across India. This was a revolutionary movie that was showcasing women in a strong role and showing that they could endure themselves without needing a man in their life. Although this was in the 1950s, this movie was way ahead of its time, almost too ahead. I first watched this movie when I was 14, and I was shocked when I saw feminism in a classic Bollywood movie that was around before even my parents were born. I always thought this was a relatively new addition in Bollywood, but in fact has been around for more than 6 decades. If it weren't for this movie to embrace the strong feminist tone of not depending on a man, then audiences would have been aware until the new millennia. Speaking of being aware, from what I've experienced, Pakistani culture is very strict and often very harsh when it comes to academics and choosing a career to do in the future. More often than not, parents mold the child into becoming a certain person, making them not only conform to their parents, but also to society as well. I've experienced this since my parents tried to dictate every single decision and even tried to decide my future without my consent. This is something that I've experienced all throughout my life, and I still struggle with it today. I recently told my parents I didn't want to be a doctor, and I still feel the effects of my decision today. Individuality is frowned upon, and children who go against the grain are considered either unruly or will be unsuccessful in life. It is especially harder for women. However, a movie called Three Idiots was challenging that notion. This was a groundbreaking film at the time since it was championing individuality in a culture where conformity was dominant. Though the three main characters are male, ideas for women to be respected by their co-workers and to be accepted by their fathers as members of their workforce are prevalent and create a strong sense of empowerment for women. This film not only changed my life forever, but it gave me a sense of respect for hardworking women and how much they have to sacrifice to be mothers, but also angers me since they are treated by second-class citizens and are not respected by their male contemporaries. One could think that this movie did terribly as it was a subject that went against societal norms and challenged deeply rooted ideas for almost a long time in my own culture. However, Three Idiots went on to become the most popular film in the year of its release, and its legacy is still felt today. The success of the film shows the shifting attitudes towards not only being an individual, but also respecting our women and championing their efforts in the workforce. If I am able to convince you to watch the two movies that I mentioned throughout the speech, then I've done my job. I do not want people to think I'm blasting my own culture and villainizing Pakistan. In fact, I love it. However, the mindset needs to be changed about women, or else we would have a generation of young males that disrespect women and undermine their efforts. I am thankful every day that Bollywood has made me realize just how important women in my own culture and also the hardships that they face. I am thankful that Bollywood has given me the opportunity to be an individual. Bollywood has allowed me to explore who I am, and I realize that I am an artist, an observer, and an individual, and a feminist. Thank you.